Okay, welcome to another tutorial. We're going to be reduplicating the steps on this glossy orb that we made. And you can see I basically have 3 layers here, but it took more than 3 layers to actually create it. So let's go ahead and create a new layer. Select the elliptical select tool, hold down the shift key and draw a perfect circle. And then we will fill it with the bucket and choose black, and then we will add another layer and select the gradient tool, and this time we'll change the primary position of the black and white, so white is primary, and then we choose a secondary color, totally transparent. Make sure that the white is totally opaque, and then we can choose our gradient tool and create a nice gradient. Okay, then we want to resize this gradient and place it wherever we'd like to. At this point you can really start, doing some kind of tricky things with it. Let's duplicate that layer, and we'll take the layer that we made initially and flip it upside down, flip vertical, and then we will resize that for the bottom. And you can do whatever you'd like with this. So there's a lot of options that I won't have time to go into for this tutorial. The important thing here is that you're simulating a rounded interior area. That's the whole point of this gradient. And the top gradient above is simply something of a reflective surface gradient. Now, to add a little bit of smoothing to it, we're going to go ahead and select the black layer. I just use magic wand at 50%, and then I choose the layer that I just resized, this small area here, and then hit it with glossy and blur at 3 pixels. Okay, then I want to Gaussian blur the top layer, and we'll pull up the Gaussian blur interface and we'll see what works best. It looks like 2 isn't doing so good, so I think I'll go with 5, and in order to get some more strength out of that white, I'll go ahead and duplicate that layer. Control-Shift-D for all those hotkey fanatics, and then I'll merge that layer down. And then I want to create a gradient beneath those that is black and white, so I'll take my secondary color black and bring it up all the way, and I will select my gradient and make a new layer. Well, I could make a new layer, or I could just put it on top of the old one. So I'll put it on top of the old one. And at this point you want to bring the size of the picture down so you have more control over what you do with your gradient. You see, that's the wrong direction. I want the light coming from the top, and I can pull it as far as I'd like to. And I'm holding down the shift key to get a nice straight gradient, and I might want to pull this top back a little bit more. And that is basically how you create a simple glossy orb. Now, in PDN, the selector tools leave a lot to be desired around the edges of an object, so working in sizes that are much bigger than the the end product will be is a good idea. And also trying some blur techniques, right, for the edges, like a radial blur might fix that up quite a bit. And it's a technique that we'll be using on future orb tutorials to illuminate how we can get nice surface gradients on there. But that's it for this tutorial.